It has never been easier to create a composite in Photoshop. In this quick tutorial, I'll show you how to replace a background and build a simple portrait or headshot composite. First, I choose my background before I photograph my subject. I do that so I can match the light direction, exposure, and camera angle during the photo shoot. With composites, the goal is not to force the background to match the subject or the subject to match the background. The goal is to bring both closer together so they meet somewhere in the middle. There's no single correct composite. We're just aiming for believable light and consistent depth of field. For this example, I photographed my subject on a neutral gray backdrop. Now I'm going to cut her out from the gray background. I'm clicking Select Subject. Now I'm adding a layer mask. Now we study the light. My subject is lit from camera right, but the background is evenly lit from the front. So I want to recreate the behavior of that light in the scene. The light on my subject is coming from camera right, so the darker side of the background should be behind her and to camera left. To create that light fall off, I'll add a broad soft darkening gradient on the background using curves. I'm selecting the area I want to adjust first. Now I'm adding a curves adjustment layer, and Photoshop automatically uses that selection to create the curves layer mask. Then I feather the mask so it blends smoothly into the rest of the background and adjust the opacity to taste. Next, I'll create a drop shadow for the subject. Here's the quick method. I'm loading the previously created mask as a selection by Command or Control, clicking on the mask thumbnail. Now I'm adding a solid color fill layer. I choose a dark color that fits the environment, not pure black, that is just a personal preference. Then I nudge it slightly to the left to match the light direction of the subject and feather it so it blends naturally. Now I'm going to match depth of field. I duplicate the background layer with Command or Control J. I keep the original background untouched so I can compare before and after later on. Now I'm converting this duplicate to a smart object. I convert to a smart object so that I can go back and adjust the blur if needed. Then I apply a blur just enough to match the softness of the subject relative to the scene. Filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and I'll keep it subtle. The goal is to mimic the way a real lens would render depth of field. At this point, we've already done some manual harmonizing. This gives Photoshop's Harmonize feature a head start. In my experience, the more believable it is before Harmonize, the better the result afterward. Harmonize helps blend color, tone, and lighting so the subject feels like it belongs in the scene. Now I run Harmonize. It takes a few moments to do its thing, and then it gives me 3 options to choose from. If you want to save even more time, you can try running Harmonize earlier, before adding light falloff and shadows. Sometimes it works surprisingly well. If it doesn't, just undo and give Harmonize a helping hand by building your light and shadow structure manually like we did here. Once the Harmonize feature is done, I review each option, compare the variations, pick the most realistic one, and if it feels too strong, I lower the opacity a little, and we're basically there. Last step, I color grade the whole image. This helps unify the subject and background. Then I add a touch of grain for texture, and that's it. This new Harmonize feature makes composites so much faster. We can go from the before to the after in just a few minutes if we're not pausing to explain. One quick note, for web use and small prints, this is usually enough. If you plan to print large, zoom in and inspect edges, hair, and any fine details, then refine as needed before sending to print. If you want more help, I offer one-on-one consulting, and you can find the link to that resource in the description. And if you want this digital background or you want to browse others, those links are below as well. Hope this helps.